I just have some concluding remarks. Over the course of the last day and a half, I want to thank all the speakers. I think there were over 40 voices that we got to hear over the last day and a half, or 2 days, including the colloquium. We got to see new innovative ideas. We got to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of this symposium, what it has been and what it has become. I think it's been an enlightening environment. That last slide that we just saw reminded me a little bit of this slide that I put up, as you can see, in 2013, when I conceived the idea of the living heart as a virtual twin of a human. And I thought about the context in which that twin would actually have to operate. We heard that from Professor Johnson today about the idea of at that time, electronic medical records weren't really a thing. They were still paper. That's how long ago this was. And I had this idea that you could transfer it into a living document, a 3D model of you that could actually grow with you. And the more tests you got, the more like you it became, because it starts out generic in that idea. And of course, fortunately, we have electronic medical records now. And in fact, this is mine. For those of you who were here yesterday, you now know that I have an electronic medical record. The amazing thing about it, I've tried to use it, and here's just what you have to do. It's only about 3 months old, but this is what you have to do to find out what's going on with my tests results. You just go through and, oh yeah, by the way, get there, load more, and it keeps going. So for me to find out what's happening in my body, I have to sift through all of these things. My doctors, my different specialists have to go through with that. Wouldn't it be great if we had something more like this? And this was a concept that was done several years ago, where instead of all of these isolated digital versions of independent tests and records, just basically taking the paper and turning it into an electronic copy, we actually have a living device, something that you could actually interact with and recognize, pulling it all together. And so we still have that vision. We have the data digitized. We have the potential to turn that into something really powerful and unite the different fields. And so we share this vision. This is a slide from our corporate profile. You've heard it, you've seen it before. In 2020, we took on the challenge, the vision, that you've heard the details, some of the work we've done to prepare us, or to give us the confidence that we as a company, Dassault Systèmes, could take on the responsibility of coordinating the world in its attempt to build a virtual twin of a human. We've acknowledged and honored the work that's happened in between to go from the launch of the 3D Experience platform to that point. And in many ways, the Living Heart project has helped to bridge that gap, to take us to the point, to prove it can be done, to prove that if we work together and use a collaborative platform, we can solve the next biggest challenge that will prevent us from that has prevented us from extending the quality of life, not just the length, but the quality. And we have the ability to do that now. And this is the call to action that I see coming out of this symposium. And so we've seen examples of the down payments that we have on all the different organs and disciplines. Some are more advanced than others, but the communities are coming together, and the momentum is unstoppable at this point. I convey again a word that has come up time and time again: the connection, the network indeed is the power. These are just some numbers. I call it, that first one's very interesting. I'll actually show this in a little more detail. The members of the Living Heart Project back in 2018 came together and wrote a review paper on 5 or 6 of the different applications to show the world what this one template was capable of doing, and that's now been accessed 26,000 times. And so those are all people interested in what that twin can do. And so this is not a small community. This is a global community of a lot of people. You see some of the other numbers. I won't go through all of them. But the most important one is all the way down at the bottom. And that is, because we're working on the human, we're all connected. We're all part of the same ecosystem. And even though we work in our own isolation, it all comes together when it comes to the human. And that gives us a reason to come together once a year. I hope we can do this again for the next 10 years. Can't guarantee that I'll be on stage for the entire time, but you know I'll be here somewhere. One of the other themes that came up, I thought I'd show this, is trust. We heard that time and time again. I show this chart that came out last year. It's a little bit hard to read, but what you see is the public's trust in healthcare information. And so if you're a doctor, you're all the way at the right. They trust their doctor. But if you're a health scientist, you're actually somewhere in the middle. In fact, they trust their friends more than they trust you as a health scientist. Friend, simply because of familiarity. They don't understand what we do. And we have to fix that problem. And I think the virtual twin, as we've talked about, is a way of helping the public understand the science behind it is not guessing. It's not magic. It's actually fundamental and real. I point out this word trust. Back in 2016, the members of the Living Heart Project first had the idea to come up with a consensus paper. Was called, it came out of that, led by Kumaran Kolandavalu from MIT, who I presented yesterday his speech. He motivated it after the first Living Heart Project meeting. We had members from Stanford, MIT, leading institutions, and that word, well, I'll bring this up because we heard about this example, so you can see it. So back then, that publication was actually rejected. The community, the scientific community, did not trust the Living Heart Project members because we were unfamiliar. We didn't have evidence to prove that we were capable of creating trustworthy models. So that paper was never published. But the paper on the right was, we heard about it before, but you can see we've been struggling for 10 years to establish trust in our community, a problem that we have yet to solve completely. Although, as I point out, this paper, again, you can't see it very well, but 26,000 people have actually accessed this paper. In fact, it's been cited over 140 times in the literature. And this is not so much about engendering trust. We just presented the results and let them speak for themselves. And that familiarity makes a difference. People could look at that, they could assess whether that was real or not. And so at some point you have to just prove your results. You have to get the evidence, and that's what it tells me. This paper, of course, surprisingly, is one of the highest scoring outputs. This is as ranked for attention, so again, familiarity, it's a proxy for it. It's actually in the 94th percentile of papers of that same age. More importantly, amazingly, of the 26 million research papers that have ever been tracked by this service, it's in the top 5 of every paper that's ever been published that they track, 26 million. So we're making a difference. We're up really engendering the trust, but we have still a lot more to go, as we discussed over the last few days. So just a little bit of personal agenda. If you happen to be in any of these places, come see me. I'm very happy to be out on the road. As some of you know, I had to lay low for a little while, so I'm thrilled to be out and meeting people in public. So if you happen to be in any of these locations, please come see me, drop me an email. By all means, we've heard about this, please read the white paper. It speaks about all of what we talked about and the bigger picture, the context, and what we hope to achieve together. I know we all believe in the same things. And so with that, I want to thank you all for your patience, for coming, your contributions, and just because I didn't know what shape me or my slightly damaged brain would be in at this stage, I thought I'd end with me from last year, because I think the words are still fitting.
You connect and then watch the sparks fly.
And so let's stay connected and get back together next year.